Hello and welcome everyone to our series about front-end development. This is video 13 and this video will be the last video in this series. In this video, as you can see, I will be talking about the dev tool, namely the dev tools for React. We will see how we can install an extension for React in the DevTools and what's the helpful function available there. Then I will talk about the AI. So I will tell you how I use AI in my development. I will show you the Gemini DevTools and how can you use it to make your application looks better and how it can help you to find and fix bugs. Then I will be talking about Llama and Ollama. Llama is a large language model developed by Meta. This model is open source, so we can download it and install it locally. Ollama will help us to run this model locally, so we don't need the internet for that. And Ollama has a special function to serve. That means we will be running it as a local server. Then it will allow us to prompt the LLM models which is running inside the Ollama, for example, Llama model, and then using a REST API. So as we saw earlier, the same API which we used in the physicist website, we can use something similar to interact with Llama through Ollama, and then we can add AI functionalities to our website. So I will have a new series coming soon. I already have the introduction video for this series. It's about large language model for text generation and image synthesis. In this series, I will go in depth how we can install Ollama, download Llama modules or other available models, and then how we can interact with those. So make sure to subscribe and watch this new series if you are interested in AI. However, as I told you now for this series, I will be doing these two steps. So we'll basically quickly install Ollama. We will pull a Llama module and run it, and then we will interact with it using JavaScript. So let's start with the DevTools. So here I have Visual Studio already opened. If you remember, this is our website from the previous video, so from video 12. I will go inside the first implementation and let me add two terminals. So in this first terminal, I will go to the server as we did in the previous video. And then I will run our index.js. So now we have the API for our physicist website. And in this second window, we will start our React implementation. This is our website, and this interface is implemented using React. So let me go now to the dev tool by pressing F12. And you can see here that Chrome had recognized that we are using React in this web page, and it's telling us to go please to this link and download the dev tools. So let me click on this link. Here you can see we have the React developer tools, and then click on install for Chrome. So I already now closed Chrome and I will reopen it. This is our website. Now if I went to the dev tool, you can see that the message here is gone. That's because the dev tools are already installed. So here we have our tabs. We mostly use console and elements. You can see that here we have these extra tabs. If you clicked on it, we will have components and profiler, and both of them has the React icon. So this new tabs are added by this extension. So let's go to the components, for example, and inside these components, you can see that Chrome is already recognized that we have only here one component. This is this app component, and this is how we implemented this first extension. So we can click on that and we can see here some properties. So it shows us the states. So in this app, we have three states. The first state, if you remember, is this array containing the list of physicists, and it contains now three physicists, as you can see here. So three physicists here. The second state was for the refresh. It contained now the value false. The third state is for the current physicist. We can expand it. So you can see now we have birth year, birthplace, and comments, and all are empty strings. And let me also expand the first state here, which is the list of physicists. So we have three physicists, as you can see, 0, 1, and 2. And the first one, as I said, it's like the information for Albert Einstein. Then we have the information of Maxwell and Newton. So you can see those and you can see where they are created and the source file. Let's move now to the profiler. I will not be going through the profiler in this video since I want to have more time to interact with Llama through Ollama. So I will just show you the help here. So this is the React page about the profiler, and as the name suggests, so it helps us to measure the performance, and namely here the rendering performance of the React. So whenever we refresh, there will be new rendering as we explained in the previous video, and this profiler will help us to figure out the cost of this rendering. To use it, as you can see here, you will have a profiler component around your component which you want to measure its performance, and yeah, this will help you to measure the performance of your application. You can also read on this help here. You can see that you can add the profiler around any component you want, or you can have even multiple profilers. So here we have 1, 2. So that's enough now about the React extension for the DevTools. Let's move now to the AI topics. I will start by showing the AI assistant, namely using Gemini here. So let's go here back in the DevTools to the console. And notice that here at the bottom, we have these 4 tabs. So I will be now using this AI assistant. So it opened this area for us. So this is the AI assistance and it's based on Gemini. As you can see here, we already have some suggestions. So how can I help you? Giving us some example. So for example, we can ask for more help. What can you help me with? Why isn't this element visible? How do I center this element? And of course, any other question which you want. So let's write a question. So go here to the chat and write, for example, how can you help me? And click enter. And here's the AI and it tells us that I can help you debugging CSS issues and analyzing selected elements and so on. I mean, you can read more about this. Let's say now, for example, that we want to center those elements here at the top of the page, these inputs and these buttons. So I will go now to select here. This we have already used before. So let me select it. Yeah, unfortunately here we don't have a div for everything. So we only have the div root. Inside it we have this divs for the inputs. So let's say that we want to center the first one of them. So I will select it either from here or you can go directly, of course, and select it from the web page. So now it's selected. You can see here we have input already selected and then I can ask, how can I center this? Let me zoom this in. And here we have the result. So this element is behaving as an inline element in a block container. So it's analyzed the case correctly. And now it's telling us to center this input horizontally. You can use text align center on the parent element. And actually, this is what I want. So notice here in my prompt, I did not say that I want to center it horizontally. So that's why it said now here horizontally, and then it's talking about vertically. We want horizontally, so let me go with this. So I need to add text align center as we've seen in the CSS part of this series. So let me copy this and let's put it inside this div. We can change that simply by clicking here on the div and we have edit HTML. So I want to simply set the style and let's say text align center. Let me click outside. So you can see now it's centered. Of course, I mean, this is now only here. So if I refreshed, it's gone. So if we want it to be always centered, we need to go to vscode and then we need to go to the app. And we need now to add this property here on the div. And for that, we use the style. And as you can see, the style need to be an expression since we are now in the React. And this expression actually need to be an object. And then now we can use the style sheet properties. So we wanted to use text align. Since this also need to be a valid JavaScript, so in React, usually this dash would be removed and then we will use the camel case. So here should be capital A. And as you can see now here we have this object lateral and React will convert this text align to the corresponding CSS. As you can see here, when I select it, you can see here it's telling us that this is the text align property. And of course, we want to put it to center, but center is not defined. Remember, we are here in JavaScript, so this now looks like a variable. We actually want the property to be the string center. So let me surround it with this quotation and save. And now let's go back to the web page and you can see that now it's centered. And even now, if we refresh, it still be centered. So this is how we can use the Gemini. Don't forget that you can ask Gemini about bugs. So if you have problems, if you have element which is not showing as you want, you can just select this element either here from the tree or from the page, and you can ask Gemini to suggest something for you. For example, that I want better styles for the button, I can click on the button and I can ask, please suggest flat styles for the button. So you can see we already got now a full suggestion for the CSS. So I will take those styles now and I will add them simply here in the app.css. So I will not put them in the app.js because I want to avoid changing the style to a JavaScript object. Here is enough to put it here and save it. Now let's see the styles. So you can see here they are flat. And when we hover over them, yeah, the background color changes and so on. Yeah. So you can explore more about this AI assistance now by your own. So let us move now to the third part, and that's using an AI assistance in our website. For that, first we want to download and install Ollama. So let's go to the Ollama website, and that's ollama.com. This is the homepage of the Ollama. You can go to the Discord. You can also see the repository on GitHub, or you can explore the models. And then here we have the download link. In the main page, we have it in the middle here. Let me first click the download. Already discovered that our platform is Windows and selected Windows for us. So let's click on download and it starts downloading here. It's about, I think, 700 megabytes. So while it's downloading, let me show you the models. In the models here, you can explore what kind of models you want to download. Of course, you can download multiple models and you can run any one of them. As you can see here, we have the Llama 3.3. So this 70B means 70 billion parameters. It's a really huge model. I think 70 billion models, it would take something like 30 or 40 gigabytes. We will not be using this model. There are smaller models such as Llama 3.2. I think they have 1 billion parameter, and that maybe more than 1 gigabyte. And of course there is 3.1, yeah, which is 7 billion parameters. You can search for that, for example. So you can see here the Llama 3.2, we have like 1 billion parameters and 3 billions. The Llama 3.1, we have 8 billions and 405. Yeah, and you can explore this on your own also if you want. Let me go back to Llama 3.2, and I want to click on this, and you can now see more information about it. So for example, the model, how many, I mean the architecture, the parameters exactly, so 3.21 billion, and the quantization. So to make this model smaller, instead of using 32, you can quantize, so you can use like float 16 or float 8, and then you will have half or quarter the memory needed by the original model. You can also see the license information, so this would be important if you want to use it in a commercial application. And of course there is the readme here where you can read even more about it, and it shows us how we can use the Ollama to run this model. So we only need to say Ollama run Llama 3.2. So we finished installation. I will go and run this Ollama setup. So apparently I already have it downloaded before, so that's why this download here says Ollama setup 1. So let me run it. So we just click install, and then it will start installing. So when it's finished installing, it closes the installer automatically. So now Ollama is installed. We can use it. Let me open command line interface. Here we have the PowerShell on Windows, and we can now run Ollama. So for example, help. And as you can see, these are the commands which are available by Ollama. I will explain more on this in the new series, so make sure to watch that. However, for now, I will just show the run and list command. So I already have some models installed locally, so I only need to run Ollama list as shown here in the help. Let's run, and you can see we have 3.2 with 1 billion parameters and 3 with 70 and so on. So let me now, for example, delete this model and pull it again. So I will run Ollama rm to remove the model, and then the model name, and it shows that it's deleted. So let's do a list. It is deleted, and now let's pull it again. So to pull a model, we can simply write Ollama pull. We can also use run. So if we use pull, the model will be downloaded but not run. If we use run, then it will be downloaded and then run directly. So let's do it in 2 steps. We'll use the pull first, the model name. This is 1.3 gigabytes, so I will fast forward. So it's finished download. Now we have the model on our PC, so we can run it simply using Ollama run, then the name of the model. So now when it's run here in the command line, can start chatting with it. So let me, for example, ask it something about front-end development. So write a hello world application in JavaScript and press enter. And here we have the answer. So it used console.log. Here also giving us another option, putting it in a function and then calling the function, and also showing us, suggesting how we can run this code. So here, for example, using node.js. And don't forget that only need the internet to download the model, but now everything is running locally. Let me open the task manager and show you the usage of my GPU. So this is the task manager, and let me make this smaller a little bit. And let me ask again a second question, and keep an eye here on the usage of the NVIDIA GeForce GPU. So this GPU, I bought it to be able to run LLM models locally. So if you want to run big models, you have to make sure that you have a good NVIDIA GPU, or as an alternative, you need to subscribe to some cloud where you can also use GPUs. If you decided for GPU, you need also to install the NVIDIA drivers for this GPU to make sure that you can use it. Let me now ask a second question. Can we put this Hello World application in an HTML page? And let's run. And notice now here, the usage of the GPU is gone very high when it was outputting. And yeah, it gives us an answer here. As you can see, we have the HTML page, and we have the script tag, which is referencing this hello world.js. So let's stop this by simply writing / and by. And let's interact with this Ollama using JavaScript. Now, since I used the Ollama run, so the Ollama is already now still running in the background. It can serve us in the JavaScript. If for some example it's closed by you, you can simply write Ollama serve command. However, it's not needed for me now. So let's go to vscode and see how we can call Llama from JavaScript. So here I already have a folder for our video. Let me add an HTML page. So I already prepared an HTML page. I will copy it and paste it here. This is the skeleton for our application. For now, it's only contain a text area, and this text area will have a simple text here, write hello world with JavaScript in an HTML page. And as you can see here, we have the on input, and we call the input changed function. So we have here a JavaScript tag. So not this one. Let me comment this because now we don't have this file. We have this main script tag, and inside it we just logging hello. And then we have this function add div. So this is a simple function. You give it a text, it creates a div. It get this outer div by ID. So this is the outer div here, and create a new div, and it will add it inside this outer div, as you can see here. So if this outer div has no children, then it will append it directly. However, if this already have children, it will append it in the beginning. So this is only to have the last text from the top, not from the bottom. Maybe it need to be reversed. Yeah. So I choose to stay at the top of the page and want to see the text on the top, but this is actually reversed. Maybe you want to have the text box in the bottom, and then you scroll down every time you add a new text. I mean, for now, that's enough for us. We will not be having long conversation with this LLM. And you can see this is the input changed, and this input change looks, the type of the input, is it insert line break? That would happen when we click enter. So if that's the case, then it will have the text from the text area, and we'll call the function add div using this text. So we'll add this text to the HTML page. So let's save and run. So we will run using live server, and this is the page here. We already now write hello world with Java in HTML, click enter, and you can see it took the text here and put it in a div here. So maybe if I like deleted this and wrote something and then click enter, you can see now that we have a new div. We added a horizontal splitter and a new div with the text something and so on. So something again and so on. Yeah. So this is a simple page. Till now we did not use any AI. We did not communicate with the Ollama. So let's add that now together. So I will do that using two methods. So the first method will use directly the Ollama API. Ollama is running on the local host on my local computer. So I can go now to Chrome and try to call it. So we use this address here. So it's in the local host. That's why we have the 127.0.0.1, and then we have the colon here and the port number, and this is the default port in this tutorial. I will not show how you can change that. So we can change that from the command line. I mean, more details about the command line interface and how we can run Ollama will be available in the new series. So for now, let me just put this URL here and click enter. And as you can see, we got Ollama is running. So Ollama is running on this port. We can query it using HTTP requests like get and post. And that's what we will be doing. Yeah, you can even try those, at least the get request directly using Chrome. And there is also Postman if you want to test this first. So I will open postman.com. Here it shows us, the main interface for the Postman, where you can create an HTTP request and you can change the type of it. So instead of get, you can have post or delete or other kind of requests. And then you can also put the body and everything, and you can run it. That's actually very helpful if you want to develop some REST APIs, and I use it a lot, but I will not do that in this tutorial since we also have the help of the Ollama. So let's go to the Ollama website. We still have it open here, and let me go to the GitHub. This is the repository for the Ollama tool, which we already now installed, but they have other repositories. So you can click on them and you can see that we have the Ollama. So already installed. They have Ollama Python and Ollama JS. So in the second example, we'll be using this Ollama JS, and in the new AI series, we'll be using Ollama Python. So let me go now to the Ollama JS, and here there are many examples how to use Ollama. And of course, there is the link for the REST API. Let me click this. And in this link for the REST API, they show you the requests and how to use them. So for example, if we want to generate completion, we need to send a post request to this URL. So that need to be appended to our page URL. So our page URL, it was this URL. So then we need to have /API/generate. And also it shows the parameters. And if we need to put also something in the body in the post request, since this is a post request, it will also show it. In this tutorial, I will be using only one of these, and which is the chat. So let's go to the chat. You can see here, it should be a post request to API chat. And it shows us that we need to have a model, which is the Llama model, which we need to use the messages. And we can have also stream here set to false, and it gives us more details about the message. And then below there is some examples. So this is how we can use it with curl. So we don't even need Postman. So you can use it also with command line. Let's try this if you like. I will copy this and try it on the command line. So we need to do some changes here since this command will work only on Linux. So here I added the .exe because in PowerShell curl is already an alias for another command and I don't want to use that. And then we have the URL -d. I hope that this is correct. And then here we need to add the backslash for this quotation. And let me click enter now. So this post request is already reached the Ollama, and the Ollama looked, okay, I don't have this 3.2 model. So now if we went to Ollama list, remember we have this 3.2, but we need to add this 1b. Let's do that and press enter. We are using streaming, that's why we got a stream, and every time Ollama is giving a token, we get a new JSON object. And the last object, as you can see here, is this one. So it gives us the model when it's created, the message, which also by itself an object, which contains first the rule and which is the assistant. So that means this answer is coming from the Llama 3.2, and content here is empty. This is the last token. As you can see, it's done. So we have the done reason stop, and we have the done put to true. In the previous ones, we will have this content not empty. So for example, here we have in the content, as you can see, this exclamation mark, and here we have in the content blue, and so on. So we need to collect those messages and extract this content and display it on the web page. That's what we'll be actually doing now. Let's go back to VS Code. And let us now first add the URL. We are running on the local host with this port, and then we want to call API chat. Then I will start a function called send request. As you can see, this function is asynchronous because we will have a wait inside this function, and it will take two parameters, a string, which is the chat message, and a callback. This callback will be called every time we get a new token. And let me now add the body. So as we've saw in the command line, so I will paste the body here, find a constant body, which is, as you can see, an object, and it has the model, and the model should be Llama 3. We can also put Llama 3.2 1b, for example. That would be the same model which required here. And then we have the messages. So this should be a list. That's why we have this bracket here, and we're adding only one message. I will not be adding chat history. If you will have a chat history, you need to append this history here on these messages. And now you can see we have the message from the role user. So that would be the user role interacting with the Llama 3.2 model, and the content would be the input message. And we put here stream to true. Actually, this is the default, so you can even remove this if you want. I wanted to put it here because you know that there is another option which is false. So if stream put to true, then you will get a JSON object for each token of the Ollama or multiple tokens, as we will see now in the parsing. And then you can render the input and the user can start reading it. However, if you put this to false, then you will not be able to render the input till you will get the whole message at once. So let's keep it now like this. And now, as we did earlier when we did the physicist website, in the physicist website, we were calling REST APIs, and we also used the method post sometimes when we were like sending data. And the options which we used at that time, even we used headers with content type JSON, and we are accepting JSON. So we want the response to be also JSON. And at the body, we will just take this object here, this constant here, which we just defined, and we will use JSON.stringify. So really very similar to what we did for the physicist website. So now we have our message option. We can now call the fetch method. So let's define a response, and this response we will get it from fetch. And as you remember, the fetch take two parameters. First, we need the URL, and this would be here, the chat URL, and our request option. Now we need to parse this response, and for that I will be writing a function here. I will call it read all chunks, and then of course at the end we will call this read all chunks. So we use here a wait, and the function is async, since there are multiple asynchronous functions inside this read all chunks which we need to call. So the first thing we need to do inside this read all chunks is define a UTF-8 decoder, and that's done simply using new text decoder and giving the type to be UTF-8. This decoder, we will use it to decode the body of the response. Let's define a reader. The response which the Ollama will return, it contains the body, and then we can do get reader. This reader can be used to read the stream. So we do that using reader.read. However, this read will give us a list of bytes. That's where the decoder comes in. So we will use this decoder to convert the array of bytes to a string, and this will be a JSON string, and then we can parse it. So let's now define three variables: done, value, and text, and then we will do a loop. So while not done, we will read from this reader. So as I said, using .read, and this will give us these two variables here, value and done. As you can see here, we are dereferencing an object which contains value and done. And so if we are done, so this variable done will be true, and then we return So that means the stream is already finished. If not, this value will not be empty, and we'll use the decoder.decode to get the corresponding string. And as you've seen in the command line, this string will contain multiple lines, one line for each JSON object, for each token. That's why first we need to split it on the new line token. So split based on the end line token. And then we will get here an array of strings, and each one of these strings would be a JSON object which we can parse. So let's loop. I will paste the code for that. So we are looping for each one of these strings. And so of course, if it's null or very small, usually this should be way larger than 3 strings. So if any of these two conditions happen, we will not parse this string. If not, we will try to parse, and that's why we have this try catch. If any error happen, we will just log it. And what we are doing here inside the try is we calling this json.parse as we did in the physicist website. So we get this JSON object, and this JSON object will have message property as we've seen in the command line, and the message object will have a content. So now we are getting the content and we are appending it to this text, and then we call the input function, so the callback on this new updated text. So remember, this callback is the input here, and that should be a function which will be used to refresh the web page every time we have a new token. So that's actually all what we need now to communicate with the Ollama. So let's go now back to our input changed function. So I will change it now. I will first create an empty div, and then I will call this send request function. Remember, this function will give us back the text. So let me define a variable called maybe response text. And then since this function is async, we need first to have a wait and then send request. The first parameter is the message, and the message we will take it from the event source element dot values. So that would be the text inside our text area. And let me also use replace all here. So I want to remove this line ending and put an empty character instead of it. So that's why I'm using this replace all. And then we need also a second parameter. And the second parameter would be the callback function. And remember, this callback function will take the updated text. We call the parameter updated text. And I will use an anonymous function here. So with this arrow expression. And in this function, I will just change the text inside this div here, which we have already created. So I will put div.inner HTML equal to the updated text. This updated text will contain new lines, and those new lines will be rendered only as spaces on the web page. So to show these new lines, I will simply render them as break. I will do that by just replacing. So I will use replace all, and will replace these new lines with a break. So PR, and I close this tag, and that's it basically. So this should run. Let's go to the website. So here's our application running. So I'll just click enter, and we have an error. So it's telling us that response.body.getReader is not a constructor. Let me check this line. So this is a stupid mistake here. I used the word new while I'm just getting the reader. So it's really not a constructor. So let me save and go back to Chrome, and let's try. And you can see we already got some response. Here's a simple hello world example using HTML. Yeah, unfortunately here, since we are in HTML, so we got now this injected. So maybe this was not the best question to ask here. We can look at this in the tools. If I clicked on the div, so this div represents the response, and let me check the HTML. So you can see that now inside this div, we have this like HTML, which is supposed to be the opening tag for the page. And then here we have lines which are replaced by a break. And then we have the headers and other stuff here going on. So yeah, this was not a good idea. Maybe here we should ask another question, maybe why sky is blue. So this was the question put on the Ollama page, and let's click enter. You can see now the response is updating, and yeah, the sky appears blue because of the relay scattering and so on, which is very nice. And you can continue now. As you can see now, we already have a chat assistant inside our web page, which is very nice. So let's see the second way to do that. And for that, I will be using the Ollama APIs. So let me open the Ollama page. So I'm back here to the Ollama.js, and notice that we can install it using npm. And then here we have an example. We just need to import the Ollama module using import Ollama from Ollama, and then we can use it directly using ollama.chat, and we give the model and message, and then we can log the response. So let me run this example here. We need a terminal, and let's init a node application using npm init. So I will use the default, so package name video 13 and version 1, and no description, and we will have index.js, and yeah, let's keep everything here to the defaults. empty. And now, is this okay? Yes. And let's create index.js, and I will paste the code inside it. And of course, we need to install the Ollama, and for that we use npm install. So I and then Ollama. Now let's run it. So use node index.js. Yeah, so it's saying that we don't have the type model. So let's go to the package and let's add type module and save. Let's run again. So we already got a response, and we simply left the Llama module to 3.1, which we don't have, and it was trying to pull this model for us and it failed to do that. So let me go to the code here and just to change this again to 3.2 and 1 billion parameter and save and rerun. And we have to wait, and then we got the whole response at once, as you can see here. So this is also another way how to run it in a Node application. If you want to run also in the browser using the Ollama package, that would be a little bit more involving because this Ollama package cannot be used directly in the browser. So let's go back to the Ollama website. So what they are telling you to use it in the browser, you need to import Ollama from Ollama.browser. But however, even that did not work for me. So what I end up to be doing is actually to come here inside the model node, inside the installed one here, Ollama. And here we have inside the distribution folder, inside the shared, we have different models. So they are both similar. Then using one of these models here. So let me take this one here. I mean, this one define exports below, and this can be included as a direct JavaScript file. So let me copy this one and I will paste it directly here in the folder. And let me change the name to Ollama updated and then also GS. And I will comment these two lines. And here I will add the Ollama directly to the window object. So I will write here window, dot Ollama is the Ollama, and then I will use window.ollama. I will have only one object inside the window. So I will use this Ollama and it will contain this object here. Then I will add to it the property, the head, and the post. Let's save and let me copy this Ollama HTML page and let's put it like this and then say using Ollama JS. So what we need to change now is this send request function. So it would still taking an input and a callback. But now since we will be using Ollama.chat, let me show you how we will be using this. We can delete almost everything here. So let me remove read chunks. Also this fetch, we will not be using it directly. We'll be using it through the Ollama API. Yeah, we only need actually to define the message, but I will delete everything here and define the message again from scratch. So now we need to uncomment this line to include the Ollama script, and we called it Ollama update.js. And then inside here, our main script, I will take the window.ollama. So the Ollama is already now assigned to the window, so we can use it directly. That's why I'm able to write a new Ollama here, and I will call it simply O. And then inside our send request, we can simply define the message, which as before, it's an object which contain a role. For us now, it's a user, and the content would be the input string as before. And the response now is simply using our new Ollama.chat and passing it to it the model, which should be again 3.2 with 1 billion parameter. And the messages will be taken from the message object. And of course, we will have stream equal true. So that's it. We will get the response without now using the fetch. And now we only need to loop through this response and then calling our callback every time we get a new chunk. So I already prepared the code. Let me paste it here. So I defined a string here, which is an empty string. And for every chunk, as you can see here, we will be updating this string. And then if the callback is defined, we will call our callback function. And at the end here, we return also the last string. Yeah, of course, this is not needed now. So let me save and run this in new HTML page in the browser. Yeah, and let me go back to the question why sky is blue and click enter. And you can see we got our response back. So to wrap up this video, we went through the development tool. We saw how we can use the React extension. Then we saw the Gemini assistant. Then we installed the Ollama and we used it to run the Llama module. And we show 3 methods how to call it using JavaScript. So one using the node.js, so writing a backend code. So that would be running on the node.js. And then 2 methods to run it in the browser. One using the fetch function directly and one using the Ollama JS API. And so that's all for this video. This would be the last video in this series. I hope you liked it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And also don't forget to watch the new series about text generation and image synthesis, since it will have more information about the Ollama and Llama modules. So see you there. Bye.